So, we go through and we comprehensively look at, we kind of make offers on both sides. So they initially provided us with kind of a list of asks. The district then, it's a back and forth, as a process. It started in January. We had multiple sessions that involved their executive committee. They had about 20 members of their bargaining unit, teachers, really all classes of employees within the CBA. And then the district was represented by our solicitor, myself, 2 assistant superintendents, the HR director, our business manager, and a couple of board members. So, again, it's a very comprehensive process. It was very collegial, I would say, in terms of, the back and forth and having conversation. It generated a lot of really good conversation about teacher perspective, teacher morale, and different things of that nature. So again, that was many meetings back and forth. Sometimes, they were pretty long. They were 3, 4, 5 hours at a clip. But again, we were able to arrive at an agreement that was, I feel very beneficial to the entire district and to our students. To point out some things that maybe are a little bit different than a previous agreement. The biggest things are usually about salary and benefits. So, we kind of focus on those. The salary requests are typically a percentage increase, annual percentage increase, length of contract. We settled on a 4-year contract, and we settled on an annual percentage increase of 4.0%. Previous contract was 3.25. Part of the consideration was looking at inflation, cost of living, and some other pieces that went into that. And when I say 4%, it's not a true flat 4% increase every year. That's inclusive of a step scale. So teacher contracts are integrated with a pay scale, and that pay scale has steps, from a starting salary to like a kind of a final salary, based on the number of steps. So some of the priorities, I believe, of the union were, number one, salary and benefits. They want to make sure that they have good insurance. They want to make sure that they have competitive increases in terms of salary, but also looking at things like reducing the number of steps. And by reducing the number of steps in the pay scale, essentially what you're doing is it takes less time to get to the top salary within that salary schedule. Essentially, our health insurance remain the same, except for some consideration of increases to employee contribution, because the cost of healthcare, you project increases almost on an annual basis. So essentially, there is a slight increase built into their insurance plans with their premium share on the employee end through the life of the contract, with a cap. There's a it's a percentage, there's a range that it could be of an increase annually up to a certain amount. We did increase the hourly pay for teachers, so if they would do things above and beyond their contracted day, that rate has been $28, $29 an hour, and we have we've agreed to an increase in that hourly rate for additional time and compensation that is associated with that. Like any profession, the biggest concerns are compensation. It's going to come down to healthcare and salary primarily, but also work conditions and making sure that people feel valued. And time is a major consideration for staff, because even though people might perceive teachers as working only those number of days and like from 7:30 to 3 o'clock or wherever it may be, they're working much more than that. I mean, the time and dedication that goes into preparing for and grading papers and communicating with parents and students goes well beyond the school day. So even though people might perceive that teachers only work 9 months out of the year, they're cramming 12 months plus into those 9 months. So the reality is that their days are not typical work days. So again, having a contract that acknowledges that and really recognizes that in terms of compensation was really